Today on Homeworthy, we're bringing you to San Antonio, Texas for a look inside interior and textile designer Elaina Fagan Darden's charming home. Initially a blank canvas, Elaina has spent the past year infusing personality into each space with eye-catching patterns and cheerful hues. Throughout the home, you'll notice traditional decor, color-drenched rooms, and even beautiful artwork that Elaina has painted herself. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Elaina and welcome to my home in San Antonio, Texas. I can't wait to show you around. Come on in. So my husband and I moved into this house in March of 2023. The kitchen and the bathrooms had been really nicely redone, and so we didn't have to have a big construction project on our hands, which was nice, and it was completely white. All the walls were white, and so I got to come into this blank canvas and add all of my crazy pattern and color, which you'll see. Right now we're standing in our entryway, which kind of doubles as this front living room. It's a really great conversation space to kind of sit here with our friends. And right here we have a camelback sofa that was my great-grandmother's that I recovered. I love incorporating heirloom pieces from my family and my husband's family. I think it makes it really special and kind of adding in some things that we collect together to that. So I recovered the sofa of my great-grandmother's. It sits in the window, so you walk up and see kind of the arched back, which I think is really pretty when you're first looking into the home. And it's also our little mini poodle's favorite spot to sit and just watch the cars go by and watch the dogs on their walks through the neighborhood. She sits right here on this little curve, and it's really cute. So I love that piece. And then the drapery in here is from my textile collection. This is the pattern called Georgie, and all of my patterns I created from my own watercolors, and I turned them into patterns digitally, and they're printed on this beautiful linen, and so you'll see bits of that throughout the home as well. I, growing up, was really influenced by my mother and my two grandmothers as far as design, and I love bringing in those traditional elements and mixing them with some unexpected colors and patterns and kind of freshening that up. So this is kind of my take on traditional design. The elements in here are a lot of antiques, a lot of heirlooms. I love these tables from Blueprint in Dallas. I think the shine on this wood and the slightly modernized shape really adds a good sleek touch to this room. And the art in this room, these pieces, I watercolored for our wedding invitations, and then my mom framed them for me, and I love that they kind of add a little nod to that throughout the room and add some fun color and flowers to this room. This fireplace is original to the home. I whitewashed the stone so that it blended a little bit better with the walls, and we love using this in the winter. Right now, we are not using it so much in Texas, but it does work, and it just adds a lovely, homey feel to this conversation space. On the mantle, I have a little collection of porcelain pieces. I think these are just really sweet and add a little detail. Dropped a couple of plants in them and some pretty twisted candles. The painting above the fireplace I did kind of out of a budget need. I just felt like I knew what I wanted there, and I started putting some paint on canvas so that works right above the fireplace and ties in the rest of the room. And obviously we love green here, so it pulls that in a little bit. I love having little moments of personality hinted throughout the space, so I have a lot of nods to our wedding just kind of sprinkled in. This was a gift for our wedding from one of my mom's best friends, and I think it's really sweet. And then I kind of just have like wedding photos that didn't get framed kind of nestled around to look at. I think that's just a special little touch and to remember such a fun day. I love collecting books. I've been doing it since college, except I moved almost every year through college. And so I learned it was kind of hard to move when you have this many books, but still kept doing it. And now we're more settled, so I can keep adding to the collection. And I love bringing in colors through the coffee table books and then layering in some little porcelain pieces. These are heirlooms from my husband's side of the family, and some photo albums on the coffee table and on all of the tables. So I love having those around for inspiration and just more layers, and I love seeing books pile up and being able to flip through them and get that inspiration there. These chairs I stole from my mother and recovered them in this paisley that I love. I love the colors in this paisley, and these tiny lumbar pillows with fringe I think is just kind of a fun, updated traditional look. I love the rolled back, and the way this pattern is, I think, just makes them a little kind of funky but still very traditional. I loved the idea of putting chairs here instead of a sofa to keep this walkway a bit more open and to keep the spaces open to each other. And although a narrow walkway, it just does go into the breakfast room, and so I think being able to flow through this space works really nicely with these chairs. I wanted to cover in this beautiful Carolina Irving fabric. I've always loved her Patmos stripe. It comes in a million colors, and I loved the brown here to bring it, just to keep the colors a little bit less girly. Thinking of my husband, he doesn't mind all the color and girliness here, but this little brown stripe was my bit for my husband in this room. My husband is very go with the flow when it comes to my designs. He says he loves what I create, and he'll veto every now and then, and when he does, I know to pivot because he really doesn't very often, so I'm lucky in that way. The fiddle leaf in our entry loves this space. I think it gets a lot of good natural light coming in from this front window and front door, and so this is the first thing you see when you walk in, and she's kind of our little welcoming tree in a fun little chinoiserie pot. And this marbled starburst mirror is a little favorite piece of mine as well. It's from a little marbled paper maker I follow on Instagram, Parvum Opus, I think is how you say it. And I love her work, so I knew I wanted something from her and would love to keep collecting some of those pieces. So that's my first one. As you can see, the home is really open, and so the living room just spills into the dining room, so we'll head there next. I have a table here that was my great-grandmother's that is really pretty underneath this tablecloth that I have on. I love that dark wood, but I also love that I can set it with lots of different tablecloths. And these chairs I picked up on Cherish, so kind of a new addition to our collection, and I recovered them in a yellow velvet I've been dying to use for years. So I loved having that pop of yellow in this room. And I have the table set with this beautiful linen tablecloth from Over the Moon. It has lots of different embroidered flowers, and I loved that it kind of brings in everything from throughout the home right there. And our wedding china is out with these Mrs. Alice linens. My mother and both of my grandmothers definitely instilled a love for setting the table. Even if it's just a casual experience, it really just elevates anything you're doing and makes it really special for your guests or just for you and your family. So we always have taken a lot of joy in setting the table and enjoying a meal together. This buffet is I picked up from Le Chateau in Atlanta, and it's a great storage piece. I should talk about the wallpaper. This is also from my collection. I grew up in Texas, spending a lot of time outdoors, and I was always so enchanted by the wildflowers every spring, and so I knew I wanted to create a pattern that pulled in some of those wildflowers that I always have loved, and so this is that pattern. I named it Adela after my great-grandmother who raised 7 children on a farm in South Texas, so that seemed fitting. And just layered in some pieces over that. I love this mirror, that it's a little bit more funky than the kind of frilly paper. And I have some wall brackets. I can keep fresh flowers on those and change them out, which is fun. And I love that the buffet is a bit monochrome with the paper, so it's a little tone on tone, and then we have the dark wood on the table, so that adds some contrast there. So there was a light fixture here that was a very modern nickel fixture, which just was one of the first things to replace. And I found this on First Dibs and just thought it was perfect and got it installed. And I really love just all the details and the little crystal ball hanging, and I think it kind of brings a fun traditional element to the space. And then I love having the sisal rug here to kind of keep things a little more casual with some more formal elements happening in this space. I think having this natural texture is really nice, is a nice balance, especially since it's the center of the home and we are walking through it all the time, all day. So right off of the dining room, we'll move into the kitchen, which is one of the only white spaces remaining in the home. And as a lover of color, I just think I will never get tired of a white kitchen. It's so classic and crisp, and it definitely is, it's a good visual break from all of the color too here. When we first looked at the home, I just could really see myself in this kitchen, and it kind of helped solidify the home for me that this was gonna be it. And it's really a great functional space for us. We love the countertop that was already here. We really got lucky with what they did, and everything just works really great and we love it. So we continued the Adela print onto a soft Roman shade in this window, which I love that it makes it feel like a whole continuous space with the dining room too. And on this wall, I have a Paige Sperrin piece framed. She's a favorite artist of mine, and I just think her work is so fun and cheerful, and this wall was calling for something bold like this to me, and so I love this piece hung here. So we have 2 bar stools right here that are a great space for just a casual lunch and really great conversation if someone's cooking and someone's snacking. We love using these little stools right here, and I love the traditional shape and finish on those too. This is not a very big kitchen, but it feels really open and spacious, and I love that the cabinets go all the way to the ceiling. It just really kind of rounds out the space and makes it feel a little bit bigger than it is. These light fixtures were here when we moved in, and I liked them, and so they're one of the few light fixtures that stayed, and I think they're a great little fresh touch to the space. Welcome to the breakfast room. I really wanted to drench this space in green, and I love this very fresh, bold green here. I kind of think of this as like my English garden room, and I love this space. This is one of my favorite spaces in the house, I think. It's just a great room for a meal with my husband and I, or I'll come in here and work, and we have the TV in here, which maybe isn't as the most pretty thing that we could have done, but you have to live. So I love having the TV in here so I can kind of sit on my computer and get some work done or paint or something like that in here. So it's very multifunctional, and it gets great light, and we have a lot of little details to cover. On the drapery in here, this is one of my patterns. This is called Lucille. This, I think, is my favorite pattern, or up there, because I designed this for our wedding tablecloths, and we actually have one of the tablecloths that I was able to get all the wine out of here. And this just stays on this table, and I think it kind of makes the room to have the pattern repeated in so many places. On the walls, I have this gorgeous set of china from my husband's grandmother, and so I think that's a really special touch in here. I actually hadn't thought of it. My mom came over one day and I had the china out, and she picked it up and was like, "You need to put this all over the walls in here." And so it just really informed the design in this room with those pops of pink and the green on the walls. So once I had the plates on the walls, I knew I wanted to pull a little pop of pink through the room. So these lampshades were the perfect way to do that. And I think they add kind of an unexpected touch to all the green in this room, and just kind of a little contrast to that. I love this little console of my grandmother's that is mounted to the wall right here. It's perfect because this pathway is very narrow, so it needed to be something that didn't have a lot of depth, and I think it's the perfect little piece right there to keep these extra serving pieces on. Under the console table, I have this wicker picnic basket that houses all of the TV equipment that you don't want to see, and I love the juxtaposition of that underneath a more formal marble and gold tabletop. On the chairs, I have some really cute ruffled cushions from Mrs. Alice. I think they are the perfect little layered addition to the space. They pair so well with the pattern on the drapery, and I think they just add the perfect fun touch in here. So bringing in some more woven and natural materials to this space, I think really kind of pulls in that English garden feel to me. I love having this pedestal with a little fern in it, and just love the texture and layer that brings to the space, and then mirrored in the rug. This fireplace is actually the back side of our entry fireplace, and just really adds another cozy touch to this room. It makes it so homey in here, and I have another Paige Sperrin piece on top of this fireplace. And this also, I whitewashed the stone, and just it feels very crisp and fun to me, and I love having those two fireplaces in the home. So this is a great little closet off of the breakfast room where I can store china and glassware, which has always been another creative outlet that I love, working with a tablescape, and bringing that into a design is really fun to me. So this is a great little spot to store those pieces. This set of plates, which is hanging all over the wall, is one of my favorites, and so it's fun to be able to bring this out, and it matches the walls. And this was my husband's grandmother's. She had a huge set of it, and so it takes up a whole shelf in here. And then above it, we have our wedding china, which is a beautiful Haviland pattern that I just am obsessed with, and that goes right there. And then I love these little silver goblets that Cece Barfield designed with Lulu Ladoon, and they have just beautiful floral etching, and they're perfect for, you can use them as a vase with some flowers, or as water glasses on a table too. Welcome to our family room. This is such a workhorse room for us. We spend a lot of time relaxing here, unwinding after a long day, and enjoying a show together, spending some time here. And it's just a really comfortable, functional room for us, which I love. And I color-drenched these walls in this really fun blue shade. And the floor in here actually used to be a very dark green tile. And we couldn't figure out what we wanted to do with the floor, if we wanted to continue the wood, but I kind of loved having it broken up and a different material here. And so we actually painted the tile My amazing painter did this diamond pattern. I don't think he quite knew what a task it was going to be, but he did a beautiful job, and it brightened up the space so much, and I think added a lot of interest that really was needed in such a kind of expansive room that didn't have a lot of architecture going on. So we loved that change that we made. When you walk into this space, we have this antique piece here that holds some more storage underneath, and I love these lamps that I found in Palm Beach that pull all of these colors together, and then you'll see those colors again in this piece of art on this wall here. So the proportions of this room are kind of interesting because it's just kind of a large open space, but when we were looking for houses, my husband really wanted a big room like this that could hold a sectional. That was one of his few design requests. And so we have this really comfortable sectional and a pair of comfortable lounge chairs that have an adorable little box pleat skirt. Both of these are in perennials fabrics, so they're super durable and you can get pretty much anything out of them, which is definitely necessary for a space like this. This rug I felt really picked up the blue in the walls and the greens from around the house to kind of tie it all together in this room. And then I love having the contrast of a white sofa on top of that bold color. And I think the pattern mix of the tile and the rug, I wasn't quite sure it was gonna work, but I really wanted it to, and I think it does. So I was excited about that when we unrolled the rug. And I love this sweet elephant side table right there. That's from Amanda Lindroth's store, and it's just really darling. The light fixture in this room needed to be something kind of low. We don't have a super high ceiling, but I think this adds just a really fun, unexpected touch there. And then the coffee table, I wanted just a big coffee table I could layer books on and we have some matchbooks from places we've been and love, and a lot of little layers there. My husband's other request for this room was a large TV to go with his large sofa, and it just so happened to work really well in this space, and it really does function for the way we live so well. Under the TV, I have a take on a toile pattern that I designed with scenes from around Lake Como where we got married, and so that's a fun touch there. And I actually have some little shelves from Amazon underneath so I can store some things, but it's pretty on the outside. With the lightness in the furniture here, I really wanted to anchor the space with some darker wood tones, and so we have these two demi-lune pieces on either wall that have some photos from our wedding, and the drapery here is another pattern of mine. This one I call Peggy's Garden. Peggy is my mother, and I grew up with her being very artistic and loving florals, and she had this garden when I was little where I remember the sunflowers being like as tall as this ceiling, and I just remember being so captivated by that. And so this is kind of, I feel like, a pattern from a child's point of view of just like wandering around her mother's garden. So that I think is a really special touch here, and it's such a fun pattern with all of these colors, and I love the white against the blue wall and kind of tying in all of the colors from around the house. We obviously need a lot of surfaces for books in this house, so we have a lot of tables sprinkled throughout the space, and I love the mix of textures that we have going on. We have a woven console here. This is a great space to kind of sit with these doors to the outside open, and then continuing that woven texture mix that we have going. This is a great little piece that's kind of a drop zone when you walk in the back door, and I have this box that I think is so cute, and it houses our cords, so that's a pretty way of kind of hiding something functional that you have to have. So I like playing with those kind of things. So we have a series of photos throughout this room by our wedding photographer, She is absolutely amazing, Kristen Kilpatrick. She's so talented, and we blew up these beautiful photos that she took our wedding weekend of scenes around Lake Como, and that's just kind of another special nod to that day. This piece has kind of a funny story. I was helping the ICAA, the Institute of Classical Architecture and Art, with an event they were putting on, the John Staub Awards, and Kashi Plaster, which is a fabulous plaster and metalwork company in Dallas, made these centerpieces for the tables for that event, and they had flowers and things on them, and since I was helping, they were kind of handing them out to people as they were leaving, and I grabbed one, and it's just kind of followed me to a couple houses, but I always think it's kind of a fun little addition to a space, and I love that kind of classical detail in here. Next, I'd love to show you the primary bedroom, so follow me. Here we are in the primary bedroom. The pink continues, and this room really shows how much of a trooper my husband is. It's Queen Anne Pink by Benjamin Moore. I just think it's such a soothing color, and I really love it in here, and my husband loves it too. He was totally on board, but it was funny, the first night it got painted and he laid down and he looked up at the ceiling and he was like, the ceiling's pink too. For some reason, the ceiling being pink was like the boundary, but he likes it. And I have a beautiful Bella Notte coverlet and shams. I like to keep pillows on a bed pretty simple, just to encourage putting them back on in the morning easily. So we just have 2 jumbo shams. Bella Notte does these amazing, really big shams and inserts, and then a little bolster in front of those. The nightstands, I loved that they add a bit more storage to this room. These are from Le Chateau in Atlanta, and they're a great piece for storing sweaters and things like that, but also serve as a really functional nightstand. And then for the bedside lamps, we have these wall-mounted swing arm sconces that I think add a really homey and cozy feel to the space. This art series of botanicals is from Oka, and I love how they tie in with this pattern. They seem like they were just meant to be together, and the pattern repeats a couple times throughout the space on the headboard and on a bench in front of the bed, and then on the drapery. It's a great sized bedroom. We love being able to have a seating arrangement over here by the window, and we have some kind of funkier, more modern pieces of furniture, which I think is a nice mix-up in here. A boucle love seat and these funky pink chairs, which work perfectly with the wall, and some blackout drapery, of course, and a little ottoman that's great for packing a suitcase or anything like that. I always love having a bench at the end of the bed. It ends up being so functional for putting your shoes on or packing your carry-on and things like that. So it definitely gets used a lot, especially by our puppy, so she can hop up on the bed, and it's a great little addition right there, I think. Moving into this ensuite bathroom, we have this really sweet, whimsical pink wallpaper that actually was here when we moved in, and I decided to keep it and continue the pink into the bedroom. So I love the pink swirls through the marble here and the brass fixtures. It's just a really great, fresh space. 2 separate sinks is pretty important in a marriage, so we have a great space here for both of us to be getting ready at the same time. The sconces on the mirror help give some great light for a good little makeup spot and just add a good softness to the space as well. We got really lucky in being able to move in and have these beautiful updated bathrooms already done so that we didn't have to take on the project ourselves. And I just think they are really beautiful and fresh and clean, exactly what I would have done myself, so saved me a little extra work. Welcome to my studio. This is where I work every day, where I design homes and textiles, and it's a really fun space with a lot of personality and love that goes into it. I love having a vision board at all times. I'm kind of always adding to it, and I have some of my textile strike-offs kind of hanging just as kind of inspiration and decoration at the same time. I have some fabrics that are outgoing and scraps in the corner. This is a great functional space to keep some kind of fabrics and things that I'm working on, sending out to the upholsterer and things like that. And some shelves with more, I keep my watercolors in a little crystal dish here, and calendar and my watercolor palette there that kind of are easily accessible but also serve as decoration in here. This home has been a great place for me to experiment and kind of try things out that I want to suggest to clients that maybe they would be a little bit more hesitant on. So we have a lot of crazy things going on, but just kind of pouring out ideas out of my head that has been really fun to experiment with. So over here we have a whole wall of fabric samples and memos and things that I'm kind of referencing all the time, organized by color and pattern type, that I'll pull out a basket and work on a scheme for a client right at this table. So it's a really great functional wall, but also I love having the baskets to keep it pretty, and I keep some watercolors in these bins on top. So it's an easy way for me to store those, but it also serves as decoration. So that's kind of the theme in this office, is things that are useful but also pretty. When designing interiors and textiles, I really look to nature for inspiration. I love all different kinds of flowers and pulling the colors and boldness of those, and traveling, of course, to especially Lake Como with my first collection was such an inspiration while planning my wedding, and obviously there's no shortage of inspiration there. So that has been really fun to design with. I really love a combination of blue and green. I think it's such a soothing palette for my clients' homes, and I feel like I end up doing a lot of play on those colors, which obviously come from nature, and I think depending on the setting you can use different blues and greens, but they always are tried and true and work for any home and space. So I wanted to show you our front porch really quickly. We have layers of vines growing out here. They grow really nicely in the sun here and greet you when you walk up, which I think is really great. And I'm working on getting some jasmine to grow around this arch here. So hopefully by next year it'll be full and blooming and smelling amazing. So that will be fun to see. And I love having this little iron table here. I think it's so sweet and a great place to sit and have a cup of coffee in the morning and kind of people watch as people are walking their dogs and everything. I have a little lemon tree right here. We'll see if we get any lemons off of it soon. And then in this window, you kind of get a peek of what's to come in the house. So I love that, and seeing the back of that camelback sofa again, I think is just a fun detail when you walk up to the house. To me, home means family and having a beautiful and functional space that works with the way you live, that shows your personality and makes you happy to be in it. So Homeworthy, I've loved getting to show you around today and take you through what home means to me in my home. So until next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.